everyone, you're listening to the Unfolded English podcast. Yeah, we're really glad you pressed play today.
Hi, friends! Welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time here. This is a podcast for learning English in a calm, natural way. No tests, no pressure, just real English for real life.
You can listen while commuting, cooking, or just taking a break for yourself. And I'm Alex. And, how are you feeling today, Lucy?
I'm Lucy, by the way. Honestly, a little tired. Not bad tired, just that quiet, low-energy kind of tired.
Yeah, I get that. One of those days where everything still works, but it takes more effort. And learning English on days like that can feel harder than usual.
Totally. You might start thinking, am I moving forward or am I just stuck? But the fact that you're here, listening, even when you feel tired, that says a lot.
It really does. And that's why today's conversation matters. We're going to practice English in a way that builds motivation and helps your fluency grow, especially when you feel low on energy.
So, if you've ever felt tired, unmotivated, or close to giving up, stay with us. Let's ease into today's topic. English conversation practice for motivation and fluency when you feel tired. Don't give up.
So yeah, Lucy, when we say, don't give up, it sounds simple, but, real life isn't that simple, right? Not at all. I still remember when I was learning English seriously. There were weeks I felt completely stuck.
Yeah? Like hitting a wall? Exactly. I could understand podcasts, I could read articles, but when it was time to speak, my mind went blank.
And that's such a common feeling. You're doing the work, but you don't feel the progress. Totally. And that's when motivation drops. You start asking yourself, why am I even doing this?
I had that too. For me, it was after long work days. I'd think, I'm too tired to practice English today. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, and then tomorrow becomes next week.
Exactly. And before you know it, you feel guilty, which makes it even harder to start again. That guilt cycle is real. A lot of learners think motivation has to come before practice.
But in my experience, it's often the other way around. Same here. Sometimes you don't feel motivated until you actually start speaking, even just a little.
Totally. A short conversation, a few simple sentences, and suddenly you think, oh, I can do this. And that's why conversation practice matters so much for fluency. Not perfection, just showing up.
Right. Especially on tired days. Those are the days that count more than we think. So if you're listening and thinking, this is me, I'm tired, busy, maybe a bit discouraged, you're not alone.
Yeah. And in the next part, we want to break down some of the biggest struggles listeners tell us about, like feeling stuck, losing motivation, or not knowing how to practice when energy is low. Let's take those challenges one by one and talk about what actually helps. All right? Let's talk about those challenges we hear again and again. Yeah, the real reasons people feel stuck, even when they're trying. The first one I notice is energy. People are just tired. After work, after school, after taking care of everything else.
And when you're tired, English feels like work, not something fun. You sit down to practice and think, I don't have the brain power for this. So you skip speaking practice, because speaking takes more energy than watching or reading.
Right. You tell yourself, I'll just listen today. And listening is great, but if that's all you do, fluency doesn't move much. Another big one is fear. Fear of sounding wrong.
Yeah, I hear this all the time. I know the words, but I'm scared to open my mouth. You start overthinking every sentence. Grammar, pronunciation, accent. And by the time you're ready, the moment's gone.
And honestly, that fear is exhausting. It makes speaking feel heavy instead of natural. Then, there's the feeling of not improving. Oh yeah, that one hurts. You've been learning for months, maybe years, and you think, why do I still sound the same?
Especially if you compare yourself to others online. Totally. You hear someone speaking smoothly and think, I'll never get there. And that kills motivation fast. One more thing I notice is people waiting for the perfect time to practice.
Mm-hmm. Like when I have more time, when I feel more confident, when I'm less tired. But that perfect moment rarely shows up. Exactly. Real life is messy, and English has to fit into that mess somehow.
So, yeah, low energy, fear, slow progress, and waiting for perfect conditions. If any of those sound familiar, you're definitely not alone. And the good news is you don't need more motivation or more time to move forward.
You just need a different way to practice, especially on tired days. So next, let's talk about what actually helps you keep going and build fluency, even when you feel drained. So if those problems sound familiar, let's talk about what actually helps, especially on tired days. Yeah, not big plans, just small things you can really do. The first idea is keeping it short.
Totally. This is where the 1% rule really fits. You don't need a full hour, just a tiny improvement each day. For me, that meant 5 minutes of speaking out loud. Sometimes just talking to myself while making coffee.
Same here. I used to describe what I was doing. I'm opening my laptop. I'm answering emails. Simple, but it kept the habit alive. The second thing is lowering the bar for speaking.
Yes, a lot of learners think practice has to be serious to count. But casual practice is still practice. Exactly. One listener told us they practice English while walking their dog, just short thoughts. Nothing perfect.
And that's real conversation training. Your brain is still working in English. Another helpful method is repeating instead of creating. Oh, that's a good one.
On tired days, coming up with new sentences feels hard. So repeat useful phrases you've already heard. Yeah, like shadowing a podcast line or reusing a sentence from a video.
It builds fluency without draining your energy. And one more thing, tie English to something you already enjoy. Don't add more pressure to your day.
I had a listener who loved cooking, so they watched recipes in English and talked through the steps. That's perfect. English becomes part of life, not an extra task.
So, small time, low pressure, repetition, and real-life connection. These habits work because they respect your energy instead of fighting it. And when you do this consistently, motivation slowly comes back.
But there's still something that trips a lot of learners up. Some common beliefs that sound logical, but actually hold you back. So next, let's clear up a few big misunderstandings about motivation and fluency.
All right, let's clear up a few ideas that sound right but actually slow people down. Yeah, these are things we hear all the time, and honestly, we believed them too at one point. The first one is, if I'm tired, it's better to rest and skip English today.
That sounds reasonable, right? It does. But the problem is, skipping often turns into stopping. Totally. Rest is important, but complete breaks can break the habit. Even 2 minutes of speaking keeps the connection alive.
Another big one is, I need to feel motivated before I practice. Oh yeah, that one's tricky. Because motivation is unpredictable. If you wait for it, you might wait forever.
Exactly. Most of the time, motivation shows up after you start, not before. And here's a third one I hear a lot. When I'm fluent, I'll start speaking more. That one really holds people back.
Right? Fluency doesn't come first. Speaking does. I've seen learners study for years, but avoid conversation because they want to be ready. But real fluency is built in messy, imperfect conversations.
These beliefs feel safe. They protect you from feeling uncomfortable. But they also keep you stuck in the same place. And when you stay stuck too long, motivation fades even more.
Of course, it's not just what you believe, it's also what's happening around you. Yeah, your schedule, your space, the people you're with, all of that matters.
So next, let's talk about how your environment can either support your English practice or quietly make it harder than it needs to be.
So yeah, environment really matters more than people think. Totally. Even if you're motivated, the space and people around you can either help or slowly drain that energy. Let's start with social circles. If no one around you uses English, speaking can feel awkward or unnecessary.
I had friends who were supportive, but they'd switch back to our native language really fast. Same here. It wasn't wrong, it just meant English never became normal.
Exactly. And when something isn't normal, you avoid it, especially when you're tired. Another big one is daily input. What you hear all day shapes how your brain works.
Yeah. If your phone, videos, and music are all in your native language, English stays in a study box. I once changed just one thing my morning news to English.
And at first it felt slow, but after a week, English didn't feel so foreign anymore. Learning communities matter too. Studying alone takes a lot of discipline.
Totally. One listener told us they joined a small online speaking group just 10 minutes a day. That's enough. The accountability alone makes a huge difference.
So here are a few simple changes. 1, add small English moments to what you already do, like podcasts while walking. 2, find one safe place to speak, even if it's just one person or a small group.
And 3, make English visible. Notes, reminders, apps. Let it stay in your space. None of this is about pressure. It's about support.
And when your environment supports you, showing up feels easier. So next, we want to give you a simple action challenge, something you can try today, even if you're tired. All right, so here's our small action challenge for today. Nothing big. Yeah, this is very low pressure. You can do it even if you're tired.
Sometime today, just take 3 minutes. That's it. And speak English out loud. Not perfectly, just honestly.
You can talk about how your day is going, or how you're feeling right now. Even, I'm tired, but I'm trying. That counts.
You don't need notes. You don't need a partner. You can do it in your room, in the car, or while walking.
The goal isn't fluency, it's showing up. Exactly. 3 minutes tells your brain, I don't quit on tired days.
One listener told us this tiny habit helped them restart after months of stopping. Because once you speak a little, the pressure drops.
And motivation often follows action, not the other way around. So, if you do this today, Take a second and notice how you feel afterward.
A bit lighter, a bit more confident, and that feeling matters more than perfect sentences.
All right. Now that we've warmed up your speaking muscles, all right, before we wrap up, let's zoom out for a second. Yeah, because if there's one big takeaway from today, it's this. You don't need more motivation. You need smaller steps.
Exactly. Fluency isn't built on perfect days. It's built on tired days. You don't quit. And real progress comes from simple habits, low-pressure practice, and showing up again and again.
That's really what we try to do here on Unfolded English Podcast. We focus on real conversations, real feelings, and English you can actually use in daily life.
No stress, no exams, just listening, thinking, and speaking at your own pace. And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. What's your small plan after today? Is it 3 minutes of speaking? Changing your daily input? Joining a speaking group?
Whatever it is, sharing it makes it feel more real. And if today's episode helped you even a little, make sure you follow the podcast and stay with us.
Because learning English isn't about changing your life overnight. It's about small moments that slowly add up.
All right, friends. Let's move into our final part. A quick reminder on how to support the show and what's coming next.
All right, friends, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We really mean that.
If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe to the Unfolded English podcast. That way you won't miss future episodes, especially the next one, where we'll keep building on real conversation skills.
And if today's episode helped you feel a little more motivated or reminded you not to give up, even on tired days, share it with someone who might need that message too.
Yeah, learning English is easier when we don't do it alone. We'd also love to hear from you.
Leave us a comment and tell us, did you try today's small speaking challenge? Or what's one habit you want to keep after listening?
And don't forget to check out the recommended episodes on this platform. There's more calm, practical English waiting for you right there.
All right, take care of yourself today. Be kind to your progress and keep going one small step at a time. I'm Alex.
And I'm Lucy.
Thanks for listening.
See you in the next episode.